Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Wray, given the pressure on the Bureau to increasingly focus on domestic intelligence activity, it's vital that the FBI's responsibilities are carried out in a manner consistent with the law and are above reproach. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
In May 2020, the FBI released a statement saying you were, quote, firmly committed to addressing the failures under the prior FBI leadership while maintaining the foundational principles of rigor, objectivity, accountability, and ownership in fulfilling the Bureau's mission to protect the American people and defend the Constitution, unquote. Is that still your intent today?
Absolutely.
That's absolutely an admirable goal, and I appreciate that, and that's certainly what the FBI director should do. However, I'm very concerned that under your leadership, that commitment has not been fulfilled. It seems to me it's been a lot of talk and very little action. The FBI's abuse of the FISA process has been widely reported. I'll give you an example. Brian Auten, a senior FBI intelligence analyst, knew Christopher Steele's past reporting as an informant for the FBI had not been corroborated and had never been used in a criminal proceeding. Is that correct?
Well, I can't discuss any specific individual's situation. As you may know, Special Counsel Durham is actively investigating, and we are fully cooperating and being transparent with that investigation. And one of the things that I've pledged to do, which I think is very important, is to be as supportive and helpful to him, including providing resources and agents to work on the investigation. So I don't want to get out in front of his investigation.
All right. Nevertheless, Auten wrote that it had in fact been, quote, corroborated and used in criminal proceedings. Is that correct?
Well, again, I don't want to get out and in any way complicate Special Counsel Durham's investigation.
All right. Mr. Auten is still employed by the FBI. Is that correct?
Yes, he is still employed by the FBI. I will say that as part of our cooperation with Special Counsel Durham, there have been a number of instances, and without reference to, because I have to be careful here for legal reasons, without reference to any specific individual's case, there have been a number of instances where at his request we have had to slow down or pause our internal disciplinary process in order not to complicate or jeopardize his investigation.
So he retains his job and his position and his pay as a condition of continuing the investigation. Is that correct?
Well, again, without reference to any specific individual, we have to be making sure that we don't do anything to complicate, or, and I know you wouldn't want us to, undermine or hamper Special Counsel Durham's investigation.
Okay, copy that. Numerous former officials have stated that they, quote, had they known what they known then, what they know now, they never would have signed the Carter Page FISA application. Does that sound right? Have you heard anything to that effect?
I believe there have been a number of officials who have said things like that, yes.
Michael Flynn's guilty plea was withdrawn by the Justice Department because of government misconduct, correct?
Michael Flynn's guilty plea was withdrawn by the department, yes.
Has anyone been held accountable for the Flynn debacle?
Well, a couple things have happened on that front. First off, the individuals who were primarily responsible for that matter are largely former employees. To the extent that there's an overlap with Special Counsel Durham's investigation, again, it goes to the same point we were talking about before. I did, as you may know, I'm not sure if you saw this, I launched an after-action review internally to make sure that we internally identify if there are any current employees left who had anything to do with the Flynn case who might merit discipline, as well as to try to learn if there are any changes to our policies and procedures, other things that we should change in response.
On that note, it's been widely reported that 2 FBI agents who interviewed Flynn did not believe he was lying. Are you familiar with those reports?
I mean, I've certainly seen some of the public reporting on it.
It's been further reported that regardless of that belief, the agents said they needed to take the matter upstairs. Are you familiar with that?
That part I'm not familiar with.
Director Wray, you've promised the American people you would address these failures. In fact, you just recently said the FBI does the right thing the right way. I just wonder, when will someone be held accountable for this abuse?
Well, again, former employees of the FBI, and much of the activity that you've asked about, much of it involves former employees of the FBI, which are the purview of Special Counsel Durham and the Justice Department.
Okay.
I have, as you may know, put in place over 40 significant corrective measures that I unveiled the day the Inspector General's report came out, and I'd be happy to brief you in more detail about what those were.
That would be
But they're
welcome.
very significant steps.
Real quickly, my colleague, Mr. Stewart, just discussed the allocation of OD&I resources with Director Haynes. Did the FBI use any funds authorized specifically by the Intelligence Authorization Act to produce this report on domestic violent extremism? And if so, how is that permitted under federal law?
Well, I don't know that I can give you an accounting here in this hearing as to what resources we use. Of course, we are the lead agency for domestic terrorism as well, so we do use all kinds of resources on the domestic terrorism front. I think there are specific provisions with respect to NIP funding, with respect to intelligence analysts, and so there may have been some situations where, consistent with the purview from this committee, we were able to use intelligence analysts, but that's getting more now into the accounting technicality than I can master in this kind of setting.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.